Exile5. Ha! There's nowhere to hide. Blood red.
Welcome back to OPL Saturday 4 Round 6. My name is Michael Hingersing, and if you're just joining us, we saw Direwolves take out Abyss 2-0 in our first match of the day. We're about to go into Exile5, taking on Sin Gaming. I'm joined here at the analyst desk by Alex, Fairfax journalist specializing in esports, I'm going to say right now, and also our in-house OPL analyst, Nathan Mendrix Mendez. And gentlemen, let us talk about this game, Exile5 versus Sin Gaming. Give us a 30,000-foot view of Exile5, Mendrix. They're looking to get off the bottom of this table. If they can take a win, they can be equal with Abyss.
Yeah, they're looking for their first win. They've been looking for their first win for quite some time, struggling a fair bit, and really it does come down to them having this sort of unstable roster. And at the moment, they finally found that stability. They've managed to pick up Mid-Beast. He's going to be their new sort of continuous mid laner that they'll have every single time. So that allows them to practice scrims. Now they sort of have the stability that they want to make sure they can get a win off the board.
All right. Well, Sin Gaming, Alex, they're going to be looking to debut their new mid laner as well. Ryoma has joined them from the Chiefs bench. What do you know about Ryoma coming from the OCS?
I know that he gave everyone a lot of trouble in the mid lane throughout the OCS, consistently one of the better performers throughout that Challenger League. And I think this move really signifies a change in playstyle, some sort of direction that Sin want to work towards.
So the big thing that Roma really also brings is the fact that he's amazing at control mages. This guy has a nice repertoire in terms of what he decides to bring to the table. I know specifically when I watched the OCS, he was always a great performer on Azir specifically. And what I'd like to see them do is probably more go towards a 4-1 composition instead of that 1-3-1 that they had beforehand.
All right. Well, earlier today, let us get straight to it because I spoke to T-Gun, the captain of Exile5, and I started by asking him about how they were settling in with Mid-Beast during their week off.
He's settling in quite well. We knew what we were up against last week, given that we had very, very little practice with him. So I don't think it affected him too much mentally, and with the extra weeks of practice, he's performing quite well with us.
What have you guys been working on in the time between last round and this time?
just the same thing as usual, trying to mesh as a team, trying to improve the basics, because that's clearly where we're struggling.
All right, well, Midbeast is up against Sin's new mid laner, Ryoma. What do you expect out of this matchup today?
I'm not too sure what to expect. I think it's really weird by Sin to replace probably their best player for the past few weeks, and that's not a knock on Ryoma. We know he's a very good player, and we're giving him the respect he deserves, but it's really changed the dynamic we sort of have to expect from them.
All right, well, we also know X5 and Sin both love a team fight. What are you expecting from the match more generally today, then? It's going to be a bloodbath?
Hopefully less deaths from us and more from them.
Yeah, I mean, if you have less deaths than them, that's potentially positive, right?
Yeah, I mean, John Madden would agree.
It's a game of objectives, mate. All right, thank you for speaking to us and best of luck in the game.
Oh, thanks.
Well, there we have T-Gun saying, look, as long as we die less than them, that's the aim of the game. Let's take a look at the Exile5 roster getting ready here. We have 528 in the top lane. Their jungler, Guts. Midbeast is their mid laner. This is his second showing for them. ADC is going to be crazy. And T-Gun, their support player and captain, who we just spoke to. And, I mean, are they really struggling with the fundamentals as T-Gun said, Alex? Is that what they're struggling with? Is it the fundamentals?
Well,
everything.
he said it, not me. So,
Yeah, exactly.
Look, here's the thing, right? If you want to win a game, you need to get the fundamentals right. I'm sure there's a lot of good stuff going on in T-Gun's brain. He's shown it before in other teams he's been on. It's just a matter of getting to the point where you have the resources when you're set up in a position to actually win. You need to get there first.
And what I think about him talking about the fundamentals specifically that they're trying to sort of gain an advantage of is the fact that their objective play, I mean, you said it yourself in the interview, it's just not really there. They seem to be great when it comes to team fights and getting the kills, but then afterwards they can't translate it into that objective play.
All right, well, their opponents across the rift are Sin Gaming. Earlier today, I spoke to their captain and jungler, Juves, about the match coming up and asked him I started by asking him about their new mid laner, Ryoma.
So I think it's no secret we like to be proactive around the map. And Wizard he's a good player in his own right, but he's a little bit more reserved than, let's say, Ryoma. And we played a bit with Ryoma, and like he has like that flair and really early aggression and makes proactive plays. And he just fit our team like a lot better than what Wizard was fitting. I mean, we did well with Wizard too, and I'm sure he'll do fine on his new team.
All right, so moving forward then, do you expect a lot more aggression out of your team now, early stages then?
Yeah, I expect us to have a really solid laning phase. Probably like 3 winning lanes now, and a lot of just like early aggression in their jungle, getting vision and things like that.
All right, well, this week we're seeing kind of 2 relatively new mid laners to the OPL then, Ryoma and also Midbeast. What are your thoughts on Midbeast and how does he stack up against Ryoma?
I feel like Midbeast he's a decent mid laner in his own right, but I think his heart's more into the YouTube than it is into the playing. So I think like Ryoma's hungry. I think he's got the edge on Midbeast. Like Midbeast's still a decent player, but like I said, you can't be OPL and YouTube, right? It doesn't work. You got to make a choice. And I think his heart's in the YouTube, so I think Ryoma will perform.
All right, so you guys looking for a 2-0 today, or will 2-1 be acceptable?
I think if anyone's watched my previous interviews, I no longer predict my my win-loss. So let's just say it's going to be a good performance from the boys. Ideally, we want 2-0, but I'm not saying we're going to get a 2-0. I'm just going to say like we're going to have a good performance.
Excellent stuff. All right, thank you for speaking to us, and best of luck in the game.
Thank you.
There we are, Captain Juves refusing to predict whether or not they're going to win.
I just think he's being a bit too self-aware for his own good right now. Yeah, I get it. That's what all the good media captains do, but yeah.
Well, let's take a look at Sin's lineup. Flares is in the top lane. Their jungler is Juves, who we just spoke to, looking very spaced out there. Moving along, Ryoma debuting for Sin today. Their mid laner, their AD carry is going to be FBI, and Rogue is playing in support.
So I think when Juves doesn't make a decision on which way the games are going to go, he decides to sort of say, you know what, in terms of the games just go on forever and ever. So we're probably going to have some long games coming out of this.
Well, what we could see as well is that, I mean, Sin and Exile5 are both known for bloodbaths, you know? So maybe this is going to be the bloodiest series of the entire OPL.
Yeah, T-Gun said he wanted his team to die less and the other team to die more.
Yeah.
I think what we're going to see is both teams dying more. So.
The real winner today was death. Yeah.
Oh, the fans, yeah.
Yeah, the
we do it for you guys, right?
And we both know that these guys like to scrap. I mean, again, look, Exile5 doesn't really have the best when it translates to objective plays, but they know how to fight. They know how to fight well. So, and Sin love to make that happen. So I expect it to probably be a bloodbath, like you said. But it is one of those cases where if Sin happens to outclass X5, which is entirely possible, there's fundamentals not being there, then maybe it might not be the high kill game that we expect it to be.
All right, well, 142 is the kill count to beat, I'm told. Let us focus in on some specific players as well, because crazy, the 80 carry for Exile5. I mean, Mendrix, like I said, you have been delving into these stats, and look at that. That is not an impressive range of numbers.
No, for an ADC to have a 1 KDA means he's basically dying exactly the same amount of times that he's getting kills. And really, this is the guy that's supposed to be safe the entire time. He's supposed to be protected, getting the kills off the back of those team fights as he has really good positioning. And I mean, to say that means his positioning is not really where it needs to be if he's also dying and not getting that many kills off the back of it.
I mean, Alex, we also see that he's playing meta champions. He's playing Jhin, he's playing Varus, he's playing Ashe. You know, the MF is a little bit unorthodox, but still, you know, viable and competitive. So, is it that Crazy isn't playing well, or is it his team isn't protecting him enough, or is it just all across the board?
It's a hard metagame to be a weaker AD carrying. You know, if you're not up,
2017.
yeah, relative to your place in team, of course.
Yeah.
These are picks: Jhin, Varus, Ashe. They need a lot of protection, and if you don't get that protection, you have to be really, really good at the right clicks. Maybe someone like Siva would be more up his alley.
And one of the things with him as well, he's actually been performing recently well with the Jhin and the Ashe and solo queue specifically. Managed to push himself out towards that Diamond 3 level at the moment. So he's actually on the up and the rising. So hopefully we can expect some better things coming through.
All right. Well, maybe we'll see the Civ, like you say, with that sweet wave clear. That's
You just press R and right click forward, dude.
All right. Well, in the mid lane as well, we're seeing these two new mid laners. Midbeast having only played one match. Roma having debuting today. Let's take a look at the. I ripped these straight from like from their solo queue games, and these are the champions they've been playing. And some of them, you know, are not necessarily viable in competitive. LeBlanc gets banned out a lot for Roma. Twisted Fate almost never comes up for X5 for Midbeast there. So Mendrix, what do these champions tell you about these guys?
Really, like, it comes down to the fact that they come from, you know, solo queue specifically. I mean, TF is a great pocket pick, but he's also a monster when it comes to solo queue, able to jump around the map and completely snowball side lanes. So really great for them to actually have that pickup. And if you see there with Sin, again, so look in the side of Sin with Ryoma specifically, we're talking about those control mages. He is amazing at those, and that's really going to change the team dynamic that they have going forward.
And Alex, we also know from Ryoma that he's played a bit of Azir in the OCS. Have you caught much of his Azir?
He's really good at Azir. His mechanical ability in there is probably like top 3 in OS among all the mid laners.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's going to come out this series or even if it's going to cop a ban or something. It's not really Azir's meta right now, but you could see that at any moment, and I would absolutely love to.
I mean, Mendrix, you've been casting OCS. You've seen what he can do on the Azir. Is it likely? I mean, do you agree? Do you think it's going to not pick a ban, or do you think it's going to be banned out?
I think it's something they definitely need to look at, and they do need to worry about. And if it's one of those cases where if they want him to actually have more consistent damage later towards the game, then that's when they're going to actually have to worry about it. If they're going for a late game team comp, you need to get rid of the bird because he is amazing on it. And if they're going to have to try to have these more accelerated games, then maybe they're more than happy to let him actually pick up his ear.
Yeah, I'd say you actually need to let him show that he's willing to pull it out at the OPL level first. You know, this is his first OPL start. We don't know if he's going to immediately come back to those favorite picks. So if they, you know, get completely clapped by his ear, then you can ban it. But for now, I reckon just keep it simple.
Well, that's one of the things we've seen when players are debuting. Obviously, you get a lot of nerves, and they only seem to perform while they're nervous on those pocket picks that they are very comfortable on. So maybe if you're Exile5, you know, look, we're just going to ban that as it means he can't, like Roma cannot be comfortable on that, and then we try and force him onto something he's less comfortable on. Maybe something that's not even a control mage. Maybe they put him on I don't know.
Yasuo.
Yeah,
Yasuo.
I don't know.
Get the knockups going, get the
Cocky,
get all the wind flying everywhere. And what I want to specifically talk about that with him, you know, both these guys being new to LAN is that Midbeast, he's already done his trial by fire. Now he's going to probably had the chance to sort of shake out those LAN jitters and be okay. Roma, on the other hand, he's might have an issue with that.
How do you think Midbeast did in his last game, Alex? You watched it?
Yeah, it's the same thing I said about Gloop when he subbed in. Difficult situation to be in.
Absolutely.
And being on a team that isn't able to sort of prop him up and give him all the space he needs. You know, Exile5 have been mid-focused for a while. but it's still a difficult situation to be in. And I totally agree with T-Gun, what he said in the interview earlier. They didn't have heaps of time to practice. Now that they've taken advantage of the break, we'll see what he can come up with.
Yeah, I mean, Mendrix, if you're Exile5, what have you mostly tried to improve on, do you think? I mean, T-Gun was a bit cagey about it. He just said, look, it's just our mechanics, it's just our basics. But really, if you're trying to put Mid-Beast into your team and still play that mid-centric style that they played with Human, I mean, what are you working on?
So you're working on getting the pick, getting objectives afterwards. And even if that means, perhaps going for a neutral objective with the extra advantage you get if you are playing through mid specifically, you get that kill, you move towards the dragon, or you move towards a gank towards the bot lane, and that opens up more opportunities around the map. And if you're not taking advantage of those specific fundamentals, you're not really going to get anywhere in this game of League.
So let's also talk about FBI as well, because he is going to be taking on Crazy. We already talked about how Crazy hasn't been really been stepping up in those low stats. I mean, FBI has been having a reasonable series. Can he dominate this bottom lane?
FBI is the kind of AD carry who really likes to take advantage of any gap in, I guess, what you're given in that bot lane. If it's like a Sivir versus an Ezreal, as we saw in the Direwolf series, that's a huge advantage. You can push in and do what you want. FBI really loves to jump on those advantages. He's played so much solo queue. He's probably like, I don't know if there's a single player in the OPL who's played more solo queue games than he has in his whole career. He's been doing it since he was in diapers. So he knows all about that.
All right, well, hashtag I am OPL. Let us know your thoughts, and also we'll bring up these tips because opltips.com.au means you can let us know who you think is going to win. And my goodness, Sin is out in front. I feel like we've had a lot of very one-sided tipping from the fans today. A lot of people think as well. It's going to be a 0-2, but some people thinking that Exile5 might be able to take a game, 2-1. Let me get your guys' predictions. Mendrix, let me start with you. Is it going to be a 2-0 to Sin Gaming?
I feel it will be a 2-0 to Sin Gaming. I mean, these guys, although their performances seem to be a bit of a roller coaster up and down, I feel like they've had a chance to sort of change it up, go towards what they want to go to now, seeing as they've picked up Ryoma, and I reckon they'll still have the advantage over Exile5.
All right. Well, Alex, do you agree? I mean, is Ryoma and bringing in this new player to replace Wizard, is that going to be a stumbling block? Can Exile5 take a game?
I think Ryoma will have a really smooth transition. I'll have to wait for another day to take my revenge against Mendrix, so Sin Gaming 2-0.
All right, well, I think I'm on the record in the podcast saying this is going to be a 2-0 to Sin Gaming, so that is 2 zeros across the desk for us. Let's see what the casters think by throwing it to them. It's Spawn and Fish.
Thank you very much, Hingers. This is Jake Spawn Tabiri, and I'm still Matthew Fish Stewart. And you're right, Hingers. This time around on the podcast, I did ask you what your prediction was first, so I'll give you that one. He did come up with a 2-0 first.
Yeah, we certainly did. So we made him go first. That was nice. But I think that this one actually is a little bit more up in the air. I think that there is room for X5 to be able to go take this one.
Potentially. I mean, Exile5 are a scrappy team. They like to go for those fights. They have shown some signs of brilliance as...
Rogue's mouse mat.
Hi.
No, it's the same one. I mean, Sin Gaming, when they played on LAN in the semifinals, actually bought in their mousepad and their gear, and Rogue played on a cat mousepad. I mean, it is what it is. We have some people like you and Jake and Pabu that have all their dog picks, and people like me and Rogue, we prefer cats. I mean, that's just how the world works.
You don't prefer cats. You prefer rabbits, Spawn.
I have a pet rabbit at home. His name's Theodore. He's a crazy man.
Theodore?
Yeah, he chewed through my modem.
I thought he was Ted.
Yeah, what do you think Ted is short for?
Ted! I just thought it was Ted. I didn't know there was a long version of his name.
Of course there's a long version to his name.
Rabbit's a menace, though.
Yeah, he chewed through my modem, which really upset me on Wednesday. That was my one day off this week. I was going to have a good time, and Teddy screwed it all up.
It stopped you from losing some LP. Come on, it's always a good thing. There you go, Rogue picking up the cat mouse pad
I'll
going
have
into
you
this
know
game.
that I have like 16-4 in my last 20 ranked games.
So not stopping you from going 10-10, which is good. But somewhere in Sydney, Kobe is barking uncontrollably after watching that come up on the broadcast. But we are into the first match between Sin and Exile5. The picks and bans are already underway here. Exile5 with their new mid laner, Mid-Beast playing his second match for the team, and Ryoma stepping in for Sin. Now that Wizard's no longer playing with the team.
Yeah, and we talked about the Twisted Fate a little bit. Mid-Beast plays it a lot. I do think that in a control mage meta, there still is a spot for TF. He has really safe wave clear. He has great pick potential. His team fighting late game is actually phenomenal. I mean, the ability to be able to chain gold cards at 40% cooldown reduction really holds up frontline. However, Ryoma is a dangerous man to lane against. He is like Luch-esque in how much effort he puts into winning a landing phase. Always wants to control the minion wave, wants to accrue big CS leads, and then just wants to teamfight over and over again.
Well, the bans have come through for now, though. Spawn, LeBlanc, Rhaegar, and Graves on the side of Sin, Ivan, Jace being banned out by Exile5, Midbeast taking a note out of the Tegan playbook and deciding not to ban anything. And they pick up Varus as their first pick.
Oh, and that's an interesting one, because I do agree that, as we see the mousepad again, cats everywhere for Rogue, I do agree that Varus is really strong at the moment, but Shen has been the pick that we've seen rise in popularity if you're putting the situation where you can go something like a Kha'Zix-Shen combo and really open up the map. Sin want nothing to do with it. I actually expect X5, that's a really good winning composition to go towards. It means you have a definitive 1-4 as well as great team fighting.
Potentially here, we'll have to get Geordie's insights later on how they've been picking and banning during the stage. So pick up Elise for Guts, nice and early.
This is weird. I mean, maybe they don't want the champion pool of Guts focused as much as what we have seen in the past.
Well, we could potentially see both Exile5 and Sin go towards their bottom lane into jungler picks during the first rotation, which is fairly stable across most of the regions.
And I agree with that, as long as Shen's not available, because I just feel that Shen is in the healthiest place of the tank top laners at the moment.
No way.
He's not
That
going
would
to
be
do it.
pretty I have to see what the final pick coming out from Sin is going to be. Like you mentioned, Shen is available, wasn't banned up by either team, but gets through the first pick phase. We'll have to see if anyone bans it out this time round.
So no priority on anything that I had, any champions that I said anything about. Instead, we're just going to have really old picks, I feel. I mean, Juve's picking up the Rek'Sai.
Yep.
The Zyra coming out of nowhere as well after the nerfs. We haven't really seen her be all that popular internationally.
So still a very strong pick in the bottom lane. Just doesn't deal as much upfront damage with the plants anymore. We'll have to see what the top laners and mid laners that are going to be picked up for these two teams are going to be. Karma still has the potential to be flexed in the mid lane. It's very uncommon to see that. As Poppy is the first ban that comes out from Sin here. A lot of respect going towards 5-2H champion up in the top lane. And we see the Fiora. Took me a long time to get that name. Fiora being banned out here, something that we saw banned out quite frequently in the second ban rotation, has dropped off a little bit.
I think it's because we just have some dangerous carry top laners in the OPL. I mean, Flares is one of them. Chippy also has to be respected. Series, when he gets his hands on a carry, likes to be able to pop off. So I just think that, you know, this is one of those things. Tally, sorry, I forgot you. Don't yell at me, Tally. So yeah, I just think that, you know, half the top laners in O, so very, very dangerous when they get their hands on one of those carry threats.
The final two bans coming out from Sin and X5 are going to be the Orianna towards Rip Midbeast, and Cannon being banned out by Exile5, and an instant lock-in of the interior crocodile alligator of Renekton. Mess that up, it doesn't matter. Flares will be picking that one up in the top lane after Pabu debuted it last week, for 2 weeks ago for 10 Bites.
I mean, you miss 100% of the memes you don't take, Fish, and you miss about 75% of the memes you do take, so we're used to it now. That's strange because, I mean, I still feel like Shen's fine into Renekton. I keep going back to it, and 5-8 is going to... Yes, dude! I got one right. I'm so happy.
Took some time. We got there. I mean, especially since the changes to how empowered auto attacks work against dodge and blind.
Yep.
Now Shen can't be stunned up when he has his dodge field down by Renekton, which is a very big change. It seems like Midbeast will be picking up the Cassiopeia heading into the mid lane. That does give Ryoma a counter pick of his choice heading into mid lane with a full, or almost full mid lane pool available for him.
Yeah, it certainly does. I mean, I do like taking Cassio when you have to blind because it does well into nearly all the matchups. Does fine into Syndra early after the slight taps that we gave Syndra, bringing her back into line. So, you know, as long as he's able to avoid any jungle pressure that comes out of Juice early, should be completely fine in a 2v2 as well. So, across the board, I really do like what X5 have put together here. They have a lot of medium range, but then they also have Crazy to be able to set up some poke damage underneath turrets and really free up what can happen there, as well as a Shen to just save you when you're about to die.
Yep, excited to see how X5 are going to be able to put this team comp together. They've been practicing with Midbeast for some time now. They had a good week break since his debut in the OPL. I mean, I spoke to Tegan a couple of weeks ago. He said he's very happy that now they have a solid roster to be scrimming with, and they're happy they got some practice on board, looking to shine during the second half of the split. Sin, currently 2-3. They did pick up some match victories in their losses. I believe 2 of them they went down 2-1. Now looking to see if they can make the push for top 4, potentially securing that 5th place spot to make it through the gauntlet.
Yeah, and Sin, you know, they've got a lot of pressure here because they're bought on Ryoma when they actually looked like they had a little bit of a winning method with the 1-3-1 that Wizard was bringing. Huge coming out on a couple of Echo games, so Ryoma has to step up. I thought that Sin was going to be a 1-4 team. With Ryoma, I certainly think that he is better suited towards 1-4, and now they need to show that that decision is the correct one.
And if they can storm out the gates here against Exile5, you know, kind of show exactly what Ryoma can do, sends a message to a lot of the teams. Even though they're playing against the last place team in the OPL, it's still good to see that Sin can adapt if they can pick up the victory here.
Yeah, I certainly do, and I think it's more about how they win the game, as was with Direwolves last game, you know, setting up that good vision control, making sure you're moving into the mid-game nice and proactively, and that you are beating people with teleports and active movement around the map, not just styling on them solo queue style.
We'll have to see if they can do just that as we head on to Summoner's Rift for the first match between Exile5 and Sin Gaming. And this is going to be a bloodbath here, Spawn. Both these teams, they like a good old fight or two. Especially Sin with their Fido motto. But for now, let's check in with Hingers, who's standing by with X5's coach, Geordie.
Thanks, guys. I'm joined by coach of Exile5, Geordie, and another missed ban for you guys. This is like 3 weeks this has happened now. What's going on?
Technical difficulties, we'll just leave it at that.
All right, I see. All right, well, you did manage to put together a comp, though, and you've got the Varus to sit back while everyone else can kind of do a lot of mid-range damage, as Spawn was saying. What are your winning conditions for this comp, do you think?
Win conditions mostly reside around Cassiopeia. She's our major damage threat, and Varus will poke him down, and we have Shen and Cassio if they want to engage onto us.
All right, and are you feeling pretty confident in this, or is it, how do you feel?
We're pretty confident. Drew's a really good Cassiopeia, and Dan's a really good Shen, so we should be well off.
All right, excellent stuff. Well, thank you for speaking to us, and best of luck in the match.
Thank you.
There you go. Exile5, 3 weeks in a row, refusing to ban champions. Apparently technical difficulties coming out for them. I don't quite believe that.
Some of them were self-imposed technical difficulties. However, T-Gun swinging past mid lane actually is going to play a huge role in this laning phase, because generally what you want to do against Zyra is be able to stand on some of those pesky seeds so she can't push the wave as early as she would like. So you can see that right now that's what they're going towards, shoving the lane as hard as possible. Zyra gets some plants out, should be able to get the next Q with some plants also. There it is. And now they lose the shove, even though Karma typically doesn't lose the shove to many people early game.
On top of that, T-Gun used his first empowered Q to throw it at the brush to try and see if they're hiding inside there and get a sneaky level 1 going there, but missed everybody, and now he doesn't have that to continue pushing back against FBI and Rogue, who have done a good job, but still very even in this bottom lane. We move up into the top side of map. Flares against 5-8. For now, nothing too much is going to take place here unless Flares goes a little bit hyper-aggressive.
And I mean, everyone that is aspiring to like how you control a wave, you know, either watch the LCK and, you know, check out people like Deft and Martyr or Bang on Wolf, or jump over the EU LCS. I mean, Sven and Mithy put a lot of effort into prioritizing how they shove out waves and when they do it. And one of the things they say is, you know, the first couple of Karma Qs have to go towards the creep wave to get you the push advantage, guarantee you level 2, and then you can start trying to zone. Not into, you know, trying to get that chip damage level 1, especially when people are running longsword early. Juves and Guts. Whoa.
He's going to find him here. Gets a good knockout. Guts with the instant cocoon. Midbeast is the first one to rotate here. Exhaust is going to go down. He's been jumped on. And Midbeast picks up first blood. Now looking for Ioma. He's forced to ghost away.
Yeah, I mean, who found who there? That was really aggressive out of Juves behind enemy lines. And historically, I mean, Rek'Sai doesn't even really beat Elise in the 1v1 early game. So just a little bit of over-aggression, and Midbeast makes him pay.
I mean, Juice was saying you have to pick between YouTube and the OPL. Apparently not, because says, let's go, boys. It's time for another challenger in 3 here for Midbeast as he picks up first blood in his second game for Exile5.
I mean, I knew you were going to come back with that, because eventually you as well, Fish, are going to have to choose between YouTube and the OPL. Of course, being a model in Singapore takes up a portion of your time as well.
Oh, why, thank you, Swan. We move back in towards the top side of the map. Flares and 5-8 just having it out against one another. Although Renekton is not so much of a tank, you could still expect similar trends up here as they just butt heads back and forth and slowly farm up.
Renekton definitely has kill threat, and don't get me wrong, this is not an easy lane by any of the stretch of the imagination, but I just feel the longer this game goes, you know, if 5-8 is able to get towards a Sunfire as well as a Tiamat, as we've seen so many times, he's going to be completely fine in the long run.
They're slowly shoving up that wave. Crazy getting caught out on the bottom side of the map, but FBI gets tethered here by Tegan. Takes quite a bit of damage from those minions.
That was actually really nicely done from T-Gun. He runs forward, assumes a lot of the aggro in the lane, as Crazy has to dodge the plant. And because of exactly that, you know, there were 3 range minions pounding FBI there. T-Gun able to get some good return damage and will equalize the trade, which otherwise looked god-awful for Crazy.
And this is a bottom lane that we've given a lot of criticism towards, Crazy and Tegan. So far, holding their own against FBI and Rogue. But it's the top side of the map that is the main focus at the moment. Juice has spotted out Guts, looking to try and take down his Gromp camp. Will successfully do so. And a teleport already being used by 528.
Members actually heading towards this top lane, 528. Teleporting back nice and early. Will spot everyone out. Really nicely done from Guts there. Supporting the top side of the map. That's important.
We actually see Flair stay in lane. Still has his health potion and that Doran's blade. Juice gets out of the cocoon range using his tunnels there. But there's already a big CS discrepancy in the top lane. Flair's doing very well on this Renekton. 528's gone back to base. Flair's hasn't. He does not care at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, Flair's is playing this well. He's going to be up. And as I said, this is not one of those lanes where it's not a Camille, for example, where you're like, from minute 1, I am completely even in this lane. Renekton's still a huge lane bully, and I think that he gets CS advantages still on a lot of top lanes. However, it is about that usefulness late game, and what does a CS advantage actually look like for Renekton? Because unless it looks like turret advantages, as we saw with Pabu playing it for Tainted Minds, doesn't really translate into all that much pressure around the map.
Flares was able to get a little bit of damage down towards 528, heads back to base, picks up a Tiamat, immediately comes back into lane, a full level up ahead of 528 at the moment, and continuing to make him farm underneath the turret, denying quite a bit of CS here.
Yeah, I mean, and the CS denial is good. As I said, 528 definitely needs to look towards something like a Sunfire Cape, as well as maybe even the Tabbies to keep himself nice and topped off in that lane. But eventually it does get better, and that's the good news story against Renekton. It's just always, let's not fall into a 100 CS hole and be useless late game. Let's continue to, you know, just stick this one out, farm up, and we will hit our stride eventually.
Meanwhile, we have Guts trying to make his way down into the bottom lane. Both AD carries still have a couple of potions to burn through here with their longsword start. Supports have a similar trend going here. But one criticism we gave Crazy last time he played Varus was he stayed in lane for far too long and constantly kept getting bullied out instead of going for a nice and early shot. For now, though, seems like he's playing the laning phase perfectly fine.
Yeah, I mean, and you can stay in for like that 1800 gold mark where you're going to come back with the Dirk as well as that tier. So he's not staying overly long. Last time I think he went back with a whole Yomu's Ghostblade, which you know is absolutely ridiculous for any champion on Summoner's Rift. It doesn't matter how much gold you have unless you spend it. No point hoarding it. You can't be buried with your goldfish.
They do get the second recall here, so FBI and Rogue were the first ones to head back to base. We'll lose a couple of minions, but it's not going to be too detrimental. Juice is looking to try and take blue buff away from Exile5, calls down flares. That should be secured by them nice and easy.
Yeah, that's actually really nicely done. I mean, calls in flares, as you said, make sure that they have success there. Looks like they actually potentially want to fight here as 528 move down. Lane's pushing against him, so he just needs to make sure he stays nice and safe. And actually, Moby Booth eats the Wisp coming out of Guts. He wants to fight.
He's going to take quite a bit of damage here by the Spider. Down to half health from one spell rotation. Does have red buff though, so will heal up nice and easy through the extra regeneration.
And he's going to absolutely fly around the map at this point, I mean. Needs to make sure that he's staying aggressive. You see that mid laners have also traded summoner spells there. Mid beast exhausted up Ryoma, who had to ghost away.
Move towards the top side of the map. 528 gets a good taunt on towards
Don't know if
Flares.
this is going to be enough.
Guts is here, but Flares pops the ultimate. He says, let's go for a 2-on-2. Repel's going to come out, heals up so much. 528 tries to save the Spider, but he gets taken down as he has to stand still. Flares now going to see if he can get the double dash going, but the cooldown's a little bit too wrong, and that's a 2v1 gone wrong.
Yeah, and as I said, kind of the idea behind playing Shen into Renekton is it gets better eventually, not go up there and try and gank the guy. So an interesting pathing decision there. Out of Guts results in a 2v1, and also going to result in a turret.
On top of that, 528 burnt his ultimate there, so he doesn't have any way to get down into the bottom lane or into other sides of the map through that. His teleport's only just coming up, so he can't save his turret like you mentioned, and Flair's just going to deny so much CS. He's 30 35 to 36 up at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, as well as a kill. And he gets solo turret gold. So I think he's going to be about 2,000 gold up, honestly. That's just a lot of gold for himself. Everywhere else on the map seems relatively even, and he's 1,700 gold up. So, yep, that's a lot of gold that he is up at this stage of the game. Unfortunately for 528, now it doesn't get better because that is the 50 CS that we were talking about, as well as a kill and a turret. That's close to 100 CS already.
It is, and his teleport's coming back up shortly as well, so we'll be able to impact the rest of the map if he needs to. However, bottom lane for Sin has to be a bit careful.
This is a nice move. Flares doesn't have TP. If they've timed this, they know.
528 actually has his, so can get down to bottom lane. Juice is trying to make his way towards bottom side of the map. So is Midbeast. Exile5 have to act quick. There is the teleport. T-Gun taking up the turret. FBI is going to be the first to fall. Repel comes down. 528 comes through. Guts taking up too many turret shots here. He's going to fall down to the Zyra. And now Sin are going to be the ones that try to turn this one around. Ryoma is here. Flares is coming down as well. Juice looking to try and go in, but gets down too low. Midbeast has to fight Flares. Whiffs the ultimate. But on the other side of the fight, 528 is going to be the first one to fall. Taunts away, but the final auto attack is going to be enough. Jumps on top of Crazy and pops the ultimate to get the bit of damage down he needs. A double kill for Ryoma and a messy fight in the bottom lane.
Yeah, 3 for 3, however, in the end. So still not a bad trade coming out of the Exile5 team. And I like to see the fact that they're willing to push the envelope. We have the teleport advantage by about 15 seconds. Let's push in bottom lane, make sure that we get something happening. And, you know, they didn't lose all that much for it, to be honest.
Exile5 were really decisive in their dive there. Unfortunately, Guts taking up the turret when he came down instead of 528. Could have been so much better from him. Midbeast getting soloed out by Flares at the start there. Forced to pop the ultimate early. Whiffs it as well.
I mean, didn't have to use Flash, however. So even though he burnt the ultimate and wasn't able to get anything, I mean, I'm sure he would have loved to been able to pick up Flares there. Still not all bad news, as T-Gun needs to be careful.
Flares going to get the stun down. That's quite a bit of damage with the cancel coming out from his items. T-Gun's down to about 200 health already.
Empowered teleport.
Flares in a little bit of trouble here as the Kernel Core comes out from FBI trying to keep him safe. Crazy takes up those. Flares now stuck in the Raptor pit. You're not a Raptor, buddy. You're a crocodile. He will get taken down.
Yeah, so really nicely done. And actually 528 coming down again because the lane's pushing into him. So doesn't have to be in all that much of a hurry going back top fish. And that CS lead is going to shrink because that's a huge wave. And giving kills over to mid base, especially because he is that consistent form of DPS, not going to be a bad thing. So still within 2,000 gold with a big creep wave to eat across the map. Means that X5's still definitely in this one.
And very proactive in this game so far. And a lot of the weaknesses we've seen from X5, especially at bottom lane, we look at 528 as well from time to time, have not been showing in this game. They have been making some mistakes, but not as many as we usually see from this team.
Yeah, however, now big advantage forced in the bottom lane. Potentially have to use that ultimate out of 528 again to save this turret.
As Ryoma being caught out again, Guts and Midbeast trying to chase him down. Good ghost and knockback from the Syndra stops them from getting a kill.
But still, time and time again, it looks like Ryoma is actually being a little bit bullied. And meanwhile, bottom lane.
T-Gun going to get jumped on here by Juves. Ultimate comes out from the shed trying to keep him alive, but he will fall. Juves, though, is going to be taken out by Crazy thanks to the turret aggro. And Ryoma tries to go toe-to-toe against Guts. Almost takes him down, but Midbeast sweeps back in and picks up a kill.
Yeah, so in the end, that's actually not that bad because they keep 528 in his lane. He's going to be able to go back, potentially lose the bottom lane turret, although FBI needs to be real careful here because he's nearly in execute range from a nice snipe that could come out from Varus. T-Gun didn't see whether he had exhaust, actually, in that turret dive, because if he did, it's a little bit inexcusable. Maybe could have been able to live as well. And if this turret falls down, the game gets real hard for Exile5 because they really only have mid lane to play around. But if it is able to remain standing, certainly is not the worst early game we've seen recovered.
But now, Exile5, they're only about 1,000 gold behind. Sin here, Flares wanted to try and take this blue buff for himself, but Guts in 528 stop him from getting any chance of that.
And all of a sudden, I mean, 528, he's 1, 2, and 3. That's a great sentence, by the way. But he's only like 20 CS down. I mean, he's fine. This is where the lane actually doesn't end up all that bad for the Shen into Renekton. He's equalized levels. He's going to be so useful in these team fights, even if it's just a big shield coming out. As Juice being caught again.
He's going to be able to get over the wall. Ryoma skirts down to make sure he stays safe as well. Guts makes his way into the mid lane. He's been having a very impressive performance, which for some time we haven't seen out of Guts.
Yeah, we've seen wildly inconsistent performances out of 5 to 8 in Guts, I would say. I mean, mid lane has been the priority on the map. We can say consistently, Crazy as well as T-Gun have lost their lane, although this time they've lost it with a lot of focus down there from Juves. A couple of turret dives, even a big swing down there with a big team fight. So with a couple of kills, that's not all that bad for Crazy.
On top of that, Crazy is only 300 gold behind FBI, which is that turret that just fell.
Exactly right. So this isn't the gonna go back to it. This early game is so recoverable if they're able to get one team fight and transition that into objectives. The problem being for X5 is that even though they've won team fights across the OPL, they've never really been able to get those turrets rolling and being able to open the map. You can see right now they're playing against 3 pushing lanes, and it just looks so difficult for them to get anything rolling.
I mean, every time we talk to the captain Tiga, before or after a match, they say they're going in, looking to improve, looking to try and make sure they got their basics down pat. In the first 15 minutes of this game, it looks like they've done quite a bit during the past 2 weeks when they've had a break from the OPL. Now we want to see if Exile5 can pull the trigger, try and take it to Sin here. Sin, on the other hand, have been showing quite a few flaws and weaknesses in this match.
Yeah, I would say that the aggression is definitely still there. Ryoma is being camped heavily. I mean, if we say that, you know, bottom lane's had a lot of help from Juves, you do have to say that mid lane has definitely had a lot of help from Guts. So you can understand the death. But keeping up in CS, it's just that the rest of the map around him has been particularly aggro this series, Fish.
It certainly has. Now though, it seems like both teams are just happily farming it out on the Rift. Remington pushing it quite aggressively against 528. Guts is happy feeding between the mid and top lane. Juves even making his way up around, will be able to take down some wards.
Yeah, I mean, this is what you expect out of Renekton. He kind of lives under your turret and puts a pressure point on the map. However, ganking him is such a risk because if there's ever a jungler there, the 2v2 goes awry. And you can see right now that this is one of the benefits of running Cassio, especially with Exhaust. She can go into a side lane. Syndra doesn't really want to do that. I mean, Syndra, if you get behind her, you're able to blow her up quite quickly. Cassiopeia, of course, has the grounded that stops the gap close, as well as that ultimate that means you can turn a lot of these little scrappy fights on its head.
Tentacle being used in the mid lane. Crazy dodges out the first and second bullet, but they get some good damage on towards this turret. And that will stay healthy for some time, but Varus low on mana here. Guts now being jumped on. 528 brings the minions forward. No, he doesn't. Gets a torn off though, will be knocked up halfway. The dodge field will come down. Just trying to keep his jungler alive, who's forced to use flash to get away.
Yeah, so really nice out of 528. Probably saves Guts' life there. We'll see now whether they can save their turrets. Need to bring mid-beast up into these fights, you feel, if they're going to be at all competitive. And time again, you just feel like Sin have got all the pushing lanes in their favor, and there's nothing X5 can do to translate any form of aggression into map pressure right now.
17 minutes in the clock. Sin see that it's approaching mid-game, so they decide to go for a little bit of Sin ARAM, but quickly get back to base and get some items in before they make their next steps. Resetting the map here on Summoner's Rift.
But I mean, if this is going to be their play pattern, force on Flair's side of the map, keep Juves hovering that area, and they're able to get Summoner spells burnt, and then FBI just opens up with the ult mid and no one can really defend the turret, then they will eventually knock through that structure. And that's when all 3 hours are down, you've opened up the map and you can really run around looking for picks. Sin haven't done much wrong in this early game. Maybe not push their lead as much as, you know, a Direwolves did last series, but still looking relatively good.
They certainly are. The only outer turret left for Sin to take is that mid lane. They're slowly increasing their lead though, about 2,000 gold up against Exile5, which is a good lead to have nice and early, but still not too drastic for Exile to fight back from.
But what they do need to be very aware of is that eventually Flares is going to get outscaled. Eventually, Mid-Beast is going to be pretty much unsurpassed in DPS, and they have to be able to deal with him in these mid-range fights.
See Crazy popping the Yoma's Ghostblade, looking to try and help out Guts and Tegan.
Oh.
That's quite a bit of damage on towards Rogue. Jude's
Really nice ult.
down. Double tether coming through, but takes a tunnel back to safety.
Yeah, so actually nicely done out of X5. Didn't layer the CC perfectly, but you could see that the idea was there. They're going to be able to continue to defend this turret. Crazy potentially needs to look for a little bit of a back. He's about half health and has no mana. I feel like he needs to start running 1 point in meditation. 'Cause I feel like he is the person that I always say has no mana.
Flares though going to take quite a bit of damage here. He does get locked down, forced to use the ultimate. Guts is going to repel out of that damage field as 528 tanks up as much as he can. Exhaust being used onto the Renekton. His ultimate is going to go down. Rogue takes a chunk of damage from an arrow as well. Sin still want to try and push this fight. No mid laners here to get in amongst it. Crazy's been hitting these arrows quite well, but Sin still have the upper hand.
Yeah, but on the back end of all of that, it was Sin that had priority of the mid lane turrets. Midbeast goes in!
He goes in, gets a kill for himself. Crazy picks that one up, now delivers 5 to away. Can't get the taunt flash down. Will take quite a bit of damage, but Juice being caught. He's going to fall, or is he? Heal is forced to come out, smites the Scuttle Crab for a little bit more health as well. Exile5 fight back, but lose their mid lane turret.
But this is what we said we wanted to see out of X5. Midbeast goes aggressive, burns the flash, picks up a solo kill onto Ryoma. Finally, now they've got some form in the mid lane turret, but a big collapse coming in.
Here comes the Crocodile on top of 4, stuns up Tegan. He's still going to be able to live, flashes away. Exile5 turning around, Flares is so low, lives with a sliver of health. Rogue gets a kill for himself, so does FBI, and it looks so good for Exile5, but Sin still get 2 kills.
They just can't catch a break. Rogue was so low. Flares lived on like under 10 health in that. And what looked to be like a fantastic turnaround play out of Exile5 actually comes up negative for them because they only get the pick onto Ryoma and they still have to burn all the summoner spells and teleport, and they lose 2 members.
That gives Sin a nice and comfortable 3,500 gold lead here. I mean, they didn't pick too much off the back of that. It looked like they were going to get so much more, but still, with all 3 outer turrets being taken down, Sin must be very comfortable heading into 21 minutes of this match.
Yeah, and that's all it is. It's just the outer turrets, and that was the first time that you really saw X5 have the confidence to approach the structure, and they got burnt for it. I mean, you didn't expect it to go that badly. Even if they got the, another 1-for-1 trade, they would have been able to re-siege up. But it was just unfortunate that they got caught out.
So you're going to get locked down here. Ultimate comes out from Ryoma, and they take down the support from Exile5 as Crazy puts on his blue suede shoes and tries to dodge out as many of those ultimates as possible.
But that's another pick that goes over to Sin's favor. They're going to be able to grab another dragon off the back end of it, looks like, as well as match the split push in the top lane.
He already picked up 1 Ocean. Another one would be nice as soon as they take that down. Now 4,000 gold up with those 2 Drakes. Let's see if Sin can put the nail in the coffin here. Exile5 still trying to catch a break, it seems, in this game.
Yeah, they certainly are. I mean, Crazy's poke is really good at this stage of the game. However, what they haven't been able to do is chain arrows onto one target, force them out of the fight, and then really be able to take advantage. You can see 5 to 8, and he's not really all that troubled anymore. Oh, Tubes!
Found Juice, though. They lock him down. Varus ultimate not lasting too long there thanks to the Merc threads picked up by that tank.
You also would think that he's running it in the defensive tree as well, so he's got even more of that tenacity coming through.
He's been giving Crazy quite a bit of flack throughout the OPL series. He's been hitting quite a few great arrows this game.
He certainly has. 3, 1, and 2. He's only like 18 CS down. Rogue always runs kill threats in his support, so that's difficult to play against at the best of times.
It's good to see that he's having a good game here for Exile5. It's been some time, but it would be great for his confidence as well.
The problem is that X5 need to have one of these side lanes start to win. Because unless they can approach turrets, the game just slowly gets worse and worse for them here. You can see that Ryoma now, with a level advantage, moving towards a death cap, is actually very confident going up against the Cassiopeia. They've got all the vision control in the world, and Crazy might be dead.
He's been stunned down here. Ryoma gets stunned before he can use the ultimate. Almost gets taken down, takes down Guts, and cool guys don't look at explosions either.
And 5 to 8 didn't actually ult. That would have saved Guts if he was able to get that off. Even if he gets stunned on the back end of it, means that they would have been able to take a team fight victory. Instead, still stuck in that lane versus Flares.
But Sin, they just get the pick inside of the jungle, still hovering at about 5,000 gold in the lead. Incremental advantages, but not getting any major swings at the moment.
Yeah, it hasn't been that explosion, but you don't really expect it because they've got their claws sunk so deep into the 1-3-1. And 5 to 8, actually, I think he needs to invest into a Tiamat. It sounds like counterintuitive, but if he can't keep the creeps off the turret, Renekton's just going to have a field day. see whether he goes that after his dead man played or whether this is just going to be a full tank Shen.
You can already see 528's lost half the health of the top lane in a turret. Flair's going back to base, and now he's looking towards some lethality on this Renekton. Serrated Dirk being picked up.
Yeah, that's a bold call. Potentially going to be going towards an Edge of Night, which has some defensive flavor, if you will, Fish. Still don't think it's a great pickup compared to something like a Spirit Visage, but he's a pro player. We are merely commentators that get to judge everything he does.
Seems like he's just going for the pseudo tank with lots of health at the moment with Renekton. Not too bad, but does mean he will get chunked out by Crazy once he gets his 5 items. It's going to take some time for that Varus to do.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Exile5 now trying to make a push towards the mid lane, but the rest of Sin are on the top side of the map, looking to rush down that top lane inner. That will fall. Now they're looking towards the inhibitors as well.
Yeah, it certainly is. Potentially a collapse can come in here, however, because you can see that even though Sin have great vision on the bottom side, 2 members are trying to go in behind. That's a lot of damage.
Exile5 looking to try and defend their inhibitor turret. That is incredibly low and slowly will regenerate.
Here we go.
The Shen, standing Knight onto Guts, flashes in. So many members of Sin get locked down. Memphis with big ultimate. And oh my goodness, they've lost so many members. Only Flair's left to try and deal with the rest of Exile5. He has to flash away. And that was a fantastic collapse coming out from the Exile5 squad.
Yeah, it certainly was, but what can they get on the back end? Is Baron an option? Can they push up mid lane? Because even though that was a huge teamfight victory, the gap is still there, and Sin are in control of this game. You can see that they just want top lane turret. Mid base being chunked out was enough that they didn't want to turn onto Baron. So even though great team fight, the setup took a very long time, and they don't get the maximum.
They're still looking to try and get something out of that. Moving towards the top side of the map, Juves is looking to see if he can get any defense going. They will pick up a single turret for their troubles. Sin, though, have a potential to now do the exact same thing Exile5 did and get that collapse going.
Yeah, it certainly looks to be the case. Juves is a one-man flanking squad at the moment. However, they can just turn towards him. And Renekton doesn't have flash or ultimate, so it's going to be hard for him to get onto the back line. Here we go.
Exile5 turn, they're looking for Juves. He's been locked down incredibly low. Flares even gets stunned up first. Crazy gets jumped on and will get shut down. Guts is on a sliver of health, dies in the rappel. 528 is going to be the next target as he gets locked down by Roe. They do trade 2 for 1.
Yeah, so they get the 2 for 1. Taking down Juves is key because that means Baron not an option right now for Sin as well. See whether they go for it on respawns because Juves is up in 19 seconds and there's a little bit longer on the members of X5. And you can see that this is why Sin continue to get leads because even though that was a pick, all of a sudden top lane pushing in. Mid lane's going to go down and they swing the gold straight back in their favor.
Flames is now split pushing here, looking to try and get some more damage on towards these inhibitor turrets. T-Gun's up here as well. Actually going to go straight back in. Looks for T-Gun. Going to take quite a bit of damage in return. Meanwhile, it's going to be Memphis that gets taken down here by Rogue. They do trade 1 for 1, but they're going to break the inhibitor. Inhibitor turret falls. Ryan with FBI now working on the inhibitor itself. Flares is still being chased down by 528, but Juves is back into the top lane. What's going on here, Spawn? There's just action everywhere.
Yeah, there certainly is. People are just dying all over the place. I mean, the tendency of that has come through in a lot of the Sin games. 4,500 gold. Base broken for Sin is the long short of it. However, 2 members down. Still without mid base, they can't really go towards that Baron, and they're not going to be able to claw their way back into this game.
And still only 5,000 gold for Sin. That's the goalie they've been sitting on for about 10 minutes now. Exile5 going to look to try and take down a mountain dragon for themselves.
And you have to say, late game's well and truly here for the X5 squad. You've got 3 items coming through for Crazy, 5, 2, and 5. Not nearly his top laner, but having a good game. You can see that nice and tanky right now. 4, 5, 2, 8 has actually gone towards crit mitigation, as well as a big slow when he comes out of that Shen ultimate. I do like Randuin's for that reason. However, deciding to go towards the GA means that he's going to keep getting tankier. However, Flair's in no danger in this side lane.
He's gone back and picks up his Edge of Night as well, like you mentioned, Spawn. So has that pseudo-defensive ability, pops it right there. Just going to continue pushing against 528.
The 2 menacing creatures. The only problem is that if 528 can't clear out creeps, then the pressure on the turret is just going to be unrelenting. As you can see here, actually has to try and hold them off the turret and do all kinds of crazy things. Oof. This game becomes really hard to win. You can see that Ryan is actually on the bottom side of the map here. If he goes and doesn't get the kill, there's potential for a big turnaround play.
That's a big taunt for 528, though. It's going to stop the advance of Ryoma. Good flash to get back to safety. That's 2 members of the Sin squad on the bottom lane. Guts now looking to see if he can collapse, but Ghost has been used by Ryoma.
So in the end, it looks like it just might be a turret that falls down ultimately.
Guts still looking for some damage on the flares. Repels to try and get out of the stun, but he's going to go down here. Stand United's not going to be enough, and that was a big misplay from the Exile5 jungler.
I actually feel that he had the right idea, but the play was too late from the rest of the members.
Meanwhile, Ryoma goes 2-on-1 and takes down Tiga and gets a double kill. Crazy will get the return, but that's Baron for Sin.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, it is just going to be 5-8 heading over there. It's not the quickest Baron I've ever seen, but slow and steady may win this race. Everyone else kind of trying to head in.
Yep, the ninja himself is now going to creep in towards the pit and just watches the big purple worm. He's going to get taken down by Sin.
Yeah, can he actually stop them here? Doesn't look like it. So instead, we'll just go back towards his blue buff. As I was going to say, I actually think that's 5-8's fault that Guts died. Because he has ultimate available when Guts goes in. I feel as soon as that cocoon hits, if you're going to fight it, what you say is, I'm cocooning, you know, ult me right now. And then when you come down from the rappel, you have enough time to actually have a Shen there that's going to layer the CC. Instead, what happened is he got ulted at the very last second and Flares just killed him.
Yeah, Ryoma even turns around and kills Tegan through an exhaust. Crazy gets the return kill. 6-2-5 at the moment before his final lethality item.
But it is 7,000 gold now, Fish, and we have to go back to the fact that even though kills are up in X5's favor, it's just the same thing that we always talk about. This squad can't transition them into anything. They always fight on the defensive. Their waves are pushing into them and are not able to get anything done.
Flares now still in the bottom lane, still going towards a damage-oriented build with his Vamp Scepter being picked up. He just wants to kill people, Spawn. I don't have anything against that.
And I mean, now 5-8 can't hold the creeps off the turret. That's as simple as it is. Juves gets caught out, but we've said that so many times and he's lived every one of them.
Takes next to no damage as well. He's a very happy Void Puppy at the moment. Flare's actually taking quite a bit of damage from this turret, but the Baron buff minions are just going to go to town on this one. Flares just doesn't care anymore. He says, I'm going to take this turret whether you like it or not, and I'm still going to look to try and fight you. I know you're a tank, I just don't care.
Yeah, and I mean, Ryoma shadowing him just makes the combo so much more lethal. And because they're putting 2 people in 5-8's lane, there's nothing that they can do about this split pushing threat either. That turret's nearly fallen down already. And I feel it's just because 5-8 doesn't have the wave clear necessarily required.
Yeah, and Sinner going for the 2-1-2 right now. Spawn as top lane inhibitor falls. Bottom lane is going to fall shortly. Surely the minion's going to pick this one up. It's the strangest split pushing team I've ever seen, as Juves is the mid laner at the moment. Even Protocol being used by FBI. Just Exile5 are slowly being torn to pieces.
Yeah, but they just need to engage somewhere. They haven't actually been able to get anything happening, and that means they're just going to lose the whole of their base.
Yep, split pushing Juves gets one. Bottom lane's going to fall. Guts almost dies, but dodges the captive audience. Exile5 going to look for an engage here, but Ryoma chunks him out. There goes Midbeast, looking for one. Going to be taken out straight away. Will get Rogue in return, but that's support for mid. Juves now going to the back lines. Will get locked down by Guts. 5-8 taunts him up. He's going to fall. Now it is a 3-on-4, but every single inhibitor is gone. A little bit too late, Exile5. The base is what you're after, not more kills. Come on.
Well, T-Gun did say as long as there's more kills on his side than there is their side, he'll be happy. So I guess you have to take that for a win, because currently it's 17-15, mate. At the same time, completely agree with the sentiment. When you fight with all 3 inhibitors down, I think that the cat's already run away.
Yeah, I think Sin are like, all right, we can trade 2 kills for this one. Juves as well refuses to state what he thinks his team is going to pick up as a win here. And again, it just looks like we don't have a decisive game from them because of it.
Yeah, I mean, this has gotten a little bit sloppy, unfortunately. Do have to give credit to Sin because they moved in all 3 lanes. This is actually mid-base going aggressive, when I don't think necessarily Rogue is the person that you're looking for. I think maybe that should have been Ryoma instead, whoever was on the back line. Juves does fall down, and everyone else kind of just runs away, whilst X5 has to eventually turn back and focus on the creeps, otherwise their base dies.
So now there's going to be double super minions moving into every single lane, and about the same time of the respawns for all 3 inhibitors. It's a disaster, to say the least, at the moment. I'm surprised that Crazy's the one that's the shining light at the moment for Exile5. 7-2-5.
I mean, Mid Beast has had a great game as well. 5-2-6. Started a lot of the aggression. Even though it's 1-5 and 10 for Guts, I feel like he's done his job. Mid Beast, you're Crazy, you're in trouble.
Sin want to go for a fight. Guts has been locked down. Repel will dodge the third bullet coming up from Jin. Will sidestep the fourth as well, but Flares has gone into the back lines. 5-8 is the next target. Does have a Guardian Angel available, so he'll get popped first. Sin still trying to aggressively move forward. Tiga was the target. Lives with a sliver of health, but the Nexus is being destroyed by minions here. And you know what? It might just be game going to Sin with more kills still in Exile5's favor.
It certainly looks to be the case. There's just so many super creeps. It's Sin.
Exile5 still trying to put up a last stand. It's 19-17, and it is going to be Sin to take down the Nexus. Tiga was absolutely right. They're going to have more kills on the other side, but it's not going to matter because Sin still pick up the victory.
And you can see Jubes is actually, after the win, headed heads. I mean, that was not the cleanest play ever, but they did what they needed to do. They continued to push up the lanes. They had the right positioning over the map, and you can see T-Gun. That's frustration. I mean, you have some good team fights in that game, but you're just never in a position because key members fall at the back end of them to really be able to get anything in your favor. If Mid Beast lives on that one team fight in the bottom lane, top lane, all of a sudden that's Baron instead of just a top lane turret. If he's not able to be assassinated in some of the fights, maybe it goes differently. But at the end of the day, Sin just had him covered from a map perspective.
I mean, this is one of the first times where I could say Exile5 could take a look at that game and pull up the Faker video and just say, a little bit unlucky there, guys. So we're able to pick up the win. Sin still able to pick up the victory in that first game, but it's still a best-of-3 series. But now let's go back to the analyst decks to break down that game.
Thanks very much, guys. Well, there we have it. Fish sending Spawn into spirals after that first game. And gentlemen, I want to start by asking you about this draft because Sin have taken Exile5 1-0 in this. But when we look at the draft for this, Exile5 went in with a plan, but did they execute it, Mendrix?
They had their moments. They definitely had their moments that went through it. And you could see that it was clear, you know, in terms of how they did everything, that the fundamentals were coming through. It's just, in the end, Sin were more polished. Sin were able to leverage the fact that they did have lane priority in that top lane, were able to really use flares effectively. And, I mean, Edge of Night on a Renekton is something that you typically don't really see, but he definitely made it work.
Yeah, but we're going back to that Exile5 draft, we see they missed that they missed that that third ban, which is Mid-Beast's ban, and obviously Geordie, when we were talking to him, he was just like, look, technical difficulties. He seemed very frustrated by that. But when you look then, Mid-Beast ends up having an alright game. Crazy also having an alright game in that for Exile5, but they weren't able to get it together. I mean, Cassiopeia was their damage dealer, as Geordie said, but again, not able to execute on that.
Yeah, I expected that lane to be pretty tough for him. Syndra's not the easiest matchup for a Cassiopeia. But for what it's worth, he started off 3-0, you know?
Yeah.
He went way beyond expectations, and he put X5 in with a legitimate chance there.
All right, well, let's talk about Sin's comp, and what do you think they were trying to achieve with this, Mendrix?
So with that, they literally just will try, like, again, it comes down to them wanting to scrap, wanting to fight. And although it was really slow towards that early game, they did end up pulling it forward. Exile5 ended up coming across with the kills, but then they were able to get the objectives off of it. And I expected them to do more fighting. I mean, when you have a Syndra, when you have a Renekton, when you have these beefy champions who are known to be so strong towards that mid-game when it comes to skirmishing, I expected more from them in that regard. But in the end, then it's just playing a more controlled game than usual.
I think they were just a bit wary of the Shen. I was a bit confused at the Shen pick. I didn't think it really fit with their strategy, X5 strategy too well. But the fact that it was there meant that Sin couldn't play their intended playstyle because, you know, you can scrap and juggle 1 minute and a Shen turns a 2v2 into a 3v2 and that causes a lot of trouble.
All right, well, let's take a look at X5's early game because as we were saying going into this, look, we don't know a lot about these teams because they haven't had a lot of time to play together. I mean, but that early game from X5 today, Mendrix, were you impressed by it at all?
I was definitely impressed by it. And when we were looking at it, I mean, if we look at the first replay coming up, it was clear that their fundamentals have improved. I mean, as you can see, immediately as Guts gets in, he drops that ward down and allows them to make this play happen. And they were timing a teleport. And this really was a great dive, a great proactive play. Sin end up having the appropriate response afterwards, but it's purely based off the fact that Exile5 are showing us they do have the capacity to become an OPL level team.
Tell us about
I mean, it's really good how it's
going.
coming off that. I mean, like, what do you think about that specifically? I mean, Alex, in terms of how they played that, how it ended up responding afterwards.
I thought it was such an uncharacteristic move for them, and I mean that in absolutely the best way. It was so proactive. They knew Guts, you know, he was in rhythm. He was getting his cocoons. He was all over the map, influencing things. There's just it kind of fell apart towards the end when 5-8 kind of flashed sideways. I'm not sure what that was about, but they could have walked away with a 2-1 or even a 2-0 if they played that just a bit better.
I mean,
You never flash forwards. You never flash straight. You always flash to the
Unless you're
side.
Faker.
I kind of feel as well with what we've seen from Sin all season has been an inability to close out games, even if they have a gold lead. And I think today it was a mix of that and also some really clutch plays from X5 in the late game metrics.
Absolutely. I mean, even with Sin being more control, I guess, as Alex was mentioning, it was because they had to deal with the Shen. Towards the end here, as you can see, they make an excellent play in this composure, and it's really because 5-8 gets a 5-man taunt off. I mean, sorry, not 5 man, a 3-man taunt off and locks it down. And again, it's just them showing composure, showing their fundamentals have improved. And the way they actually executed on that was they had him sort of ultimating on towards Guts. Guts flashes in, and then he's immediately able to get the Sean taunt afterwards. And that was something they could have possibly got more out of, but then, they're not translating into objectives, and that's the next level Exile5 really need to take it to.
I think you're absolutely right. That fight kind of summed up the whole game for X5 for me. They played mechanically well, they saw a good opportunity, and they jumped on it. But at the end of the day, it was a bit of a Pyrrhic victory. They had nothing, as Spawn said over and over, there was nothing on the other end of that fight for them.
All right, well, for Sin Gaming, it could be that they have to do a trade-off between composure and this early game aggression they want to play. But let's see if Exile5 can claw it back and tie up the series 1-1 with Game 2. We'll be back right after this.
Let's go for a 2-on-2. Repel's going to come out, heals up so much. 5-8 tries to save the Spider, but he gets taken down as he has to stand still. Flares now. Midbeast has to fight Flares, whips the ultimate, but on the other side of the fight, 5-8 can be the first one to fall. Taunts away, but the final auto attack is going to be enough. Jumps on top of Crazy and punts the ultimate to get the bit of damage down he needs. And here comes the Crocodile on top of 4. Stuns up Tegan. He's still going to be able to live. Flashes away. Exile5 turning around. Flares is so low. Lives with a sliver of health. Rogue gets a kill for himself. So does FBI. Right,
here we go.
The Shen standing right onto Guts. Flashes in. So many members of Sin get locked down. Memphis with a big ultimate. And oh my goodness, they've lost so many members. Only Flares left to try and deal with the rest of Exile5. He has to flash away.
The stories were true. I will follow this path until the end.